God bless you. It's great to connect with you again for another session, another day. The Lord is certainly good to us, and I am grateful. I'm grateful. We've got some beautiful days. I'm sure you've been enjoying your days also, wherever you are in the world. Whether it's raining, it's beautiful. If it's cold, it's beautiful. If you're in a heat wave at this moment, it is just as beautiful. The Lord is gracious, and there are reasons why we may be experiencing what we're experiencing. Reason because of the climate. It could be other stuff or other things that also involve us, and that's going on around you, me, and collectively us. But God is still good to us. I'm just going to go straight on into what it is that is before us. There's a lot more things that we need to accomplish before we finish this chapter, which after this session, it's just one more session left to do. And then we go into chapter 46. This is the 45th chapter, as you may well know. And it's been exciting all the way through the book of Ezekiel. I'm sure it's been exciting for you. We we have touched over a period of time, and obviously it has been going through my mind. There are things that have been touched on that maybe, can I use the word, it may be boring to you, or you may have the question going through your mind, why are we doing this, or why is it that we are having to read this or that? Well, for one thing, it's within the book. Two, it's within the passages that we are reading. So we can't we could read over or skip this whole passage. But if we skip certain passages because we don't think it's relevant to us, then I think, and I do believe, that we will miss out important things that would properly bring the book together. And in this case, Ezekiel. If we miss out passages because we don't think it's relevant for us or to us for our day and time, then we won't really get the proper essence of what it is that God is communicating to Ezekiel, for Ezekiel then to communicate it to his people or to the children of Israel. Remember, all of what we are reading about, all of what we have been taking in, is really at this point directed to a particular people, to a particular set of people, or to a particular nation. I think we have to understand that. This is not written so much to the church. It wasn't for the church. Now, some may not agree, some may be a little confused. Then why are we dealing with it? Or who then was it written to? Or who then is it supposed to be given to? It was supposed to be given to Israel. This is what Israel, the house of Israel, is to hear. Now, there may be, or let me rephrase that, and you may agree or you may disagree, but it sorry, we can get spiritual meat out of this. We can. I'm sure we can. For us, for me, I believe there is something in here for me, and I have received quite a bit. I won't say that I have received nothing. I believe there is something, and I have received a little. Now, as I've said before, and I think I did say it in the last session, that we cannot outthink or outknow God. There is always something every day. If we were able to live for 1,000 years, or if we were able to live for 100 years, or let me go even further, if we were able to live for, well, I'm 62 now, so obviously let's stop at that. We There is so much more of God that we need to know about. So we cannot know too much. We cannot. So in the passages that we are doing, in the passages, if you have walked with me, in the passages that we have completed together, there is so much more in it that I have not touched. I haven't even thought about it, or God has not revealed much or anything to me. If I haven't touched it, then probably it's not for me to know. Probably, I'm saying probably it's not for me to know. But if you were to read it, probably it is for you to know, so you can then tell me. Yes, and I'm willing to listen to anybody. I'm willing once you the individual can look at the scriptures and tie the scriptures together, tie them, bring them, open up other passages, because the Bible does not contradict itself. It will never contradict itself. If it does contradict itself, then we're going to have a God that is schizophrenic. We're going to have a God that really doesn't know his mind, because he's going to be confused and he's going to contradict himself. Just like many, sadly to say, many of our friends, it could even be within our families, and we've heard of many who walk the streets or they're living in their homes, or they have to be committed to mental institutions because something isn't right. They're talking, they're confused, and a lot of other things are then happening in order to bring to cause others concern, because they could harm themselves. So we have to be open to the Spirit of God. We have to be open to the voice of God. That's important. Wouldn't you agree? All right. So anyway, we're going to be looking at verses 13 through to 17. And we're looking here at the offerings or future offerings that will be given within this temple. Now, the purpose for these offerings and services are so important that they are repeated again. Yes, they are repeated again and again and again. Especially, I'm sure, as you have noticed within the book of Ezekiel and in other books also. But here, the prince must make sure, and we're going to be reading a little bit more about this prince that is there. Obviously, it's, as I've said before, some do not think it is the Lord Jesus Christ, because he has already given himself, and he doesn't need to have anywhere for him to live, if you understand. He won't have a possession. We are his possession. If I am, if I'm thinking correctly, and as he has said, anyway. But anyway, the prince must make sure the individual that is going to be there, organizing, making sure that the temple services and offerings are running correctly. They must make sure that the atonement is made for the people. Jesus has died for their sins, and they have trusted Christ to forgive their sins. Therefore, the death of Christ, the Messiah, is to be regularly observed for each believer throughout the year, observed in some very special memorial services. Note this also, that the prince will serve right under Christ. He will be his representative in ministering the affairs of government. This is when Christ has set up his government on earth. Yes, this temple, the temple worship, the temple service, the temple ordinances, everything that is happening within this particular temple will come about during the reign of Christ. And this is when Christ is coming to uh, set up his government on earth. The prince will become a picture of Christ himself, presenting the atoning sacrifice to God on behalf of the people. All right. Now, again, a lot of scripture can be very confusing. And if we haven't really looked at it the way that we should, if we haven't read it like how we've read other scriptures, constantly meditating, praying, seeking God for scriptures like these, which is just as important as the verse that we've probably read and repeated and preached Jesus wept out of the book of John far more than we have preached or said anything about Ezekiel 45 verses 13 through the 17. We've probably done that, even though you may have to really think back and say, well, okay, when last did I preach Jesus wept? That one little verse. But probably we have preached that once, and we haven't preached this at all. We haven't even mentioned it in any of our services or at any time. Now, you as an individual, yes, you the one who's listening to me, you may have preached this already. So you're out, you're not included. You may have been one out of thousands to have mentioned even this, and you could have mentioned it last week or even yesterday, depending on depending on the service that you had to prepare for or how the Lord may have led you. But more often than not, we are preaching other things. We have mentioned other things far more than we have mentioned this. So speaking about this, and in particular about this particular prince that is mentioned in chapter 45, and about this one who's going to be the one to administer and to help to administer and to be ministering the affairs of government. Because when Christ sets his government up here on earth, he's going to need individuals to do certain things, you know. He'll be able, yes, it's not to say that he can't do everything. He will be able to do anything he wants. We don't really know what it is or what he can do. We can, and I'm not saying that to say he can't do anything. I'm just saying that what we may think he can do far more than what we may think he can do. Okay, but he's going to use, I believe he's going to use some of us to do certain things around the world, around the globe, you know, in some regions of our world. I believe that. How that's going to happen, we don't know. And I remember some years back when I was a child, I believe, and such. At particular times in the home of my parents, there was really, really interesting discussions and questions and such that would be asked about in things like these. Not all the time. I'm not saying it was always like that. I'm just saying I've been around in particular, particular times when questions will be asked about when Christ comes and the government that he would, what type of government. We know it's going to be a theocratic government. We know that he's going to be in charge. We know that he's going to administer. But at the same time, there were also other questions such as, the countries around the world. Who's going to be in these countries? How are these countries going to respond? Or what kind of government is going to be in these countries? And things like that, if you understand. I mean, very interesting. I was just a child, so probably even the very things I'm saying wasn't the things that I'm talking about. However, these are things that we can think about. There's nothing wrong in thinking of them, and it may not happen in the way I'm talking about anyway. But obviously, God is going to be in charge of world affairs because his government is going to be on the earth. And so how it's going to look like for the rest of the world, what exactly is going to take place, we just don't know. And it's going to be interesting times. And some of us may be in high government, or you could be working in some, as we would call it now, local government, municipal government, whatever that may be, because the world is still going to be in existence for a while, for a time. So we just don't know. We just don't know. But it's going to be interesting. This prince, we're going to then know who this prince is. I believe we're going to know. We're going to see him. We're going to be able probably even to converse with him. So we're heading towards interesting times. We're heading towards interesting period of human history. So let me read from the Holy Bible, from the Holy Bible, verses 13 through to 17. This is the offering you are to make. So again, let me remind you, if you have forgotten, that it is God, it is Adonai Elohim that is speaking to Ezekiel the prophet. And let me remind you again, all of the detail that we're reading about, he needed to inform the house of Israel. He's informing us also, because we are reading it. And I believe because we are reading it, we're going to see something of this very nature being played out right in front of us. So we need to be informed. It's interesting. Whether we're going to be involved, I don't know. I can't say at what area, what point the church, us, the engrafted vine, the wild olive branch is going to be involved in this. But we are being informed. And I believe we are going to see something of this nature being played out before us. Because it is God the Almighty that is speaking to Ezekiel. And this is the offering you are to make: 1/6 of a bushel from every 10 bushels of wheat, and you are to give 1/6 of a bushel from every 10 bushels of barley. The law for olive oil is to be half a gallon from every 50 gallons, which is the same as 10 bats or 1 homer, since 10 bats equal a homer. From the flock, take 1 sheep from every 200 being pastured in Israel. All these are to be used for grain offerings, burnt offerings, and peace offerings, to make atonement for them, says Adonai Elohim. All the people in the land are to be present. Verse 16, let me read it again. All the people in the land are to present this offering to the Prince of Israel. The prince's obligation will be to present the burnt offerings, grain offerings, and drink offerings at the feasts on Rosh Chodesh and on Sabbath, at all the designated times of the house of Israel. He is to prepare the sin offerings, grain offerings, and burnt offerings, and peace offerings to make atonement for the house of Israel. Interesting, isn't it? These are offerings which are being told to Ezekiel, because the house of Israel must know what they ought to do when that time comes. Now it's funny, because from the time that Ezekiel has been told about this, and the time in which this temple is then supposed to be erected and ready to do the offering, is a long period of time. Now, I'm not saying that this also was not happening, because if you remember, or if you know, not so much remember, but if you know the service of offerings that Israel had to do when they were in the wilderness, and then as they came into the land, they had to do burnt offerings. They had sin offerings, grain offerings, burnt offerings, peace offerings were not strange to them, because these offerings were already being done. Yes. Again, sin offerings, grain offerings, burnt offerings, and peace offerings. And at some stage, we're going to know what all of these four offerings consisted of. But they were not strange offerings which needed to be done in the service of the Lord within the temple or within the sanctuary. These were not strange to the heirs and to the doings of the Levitical priesthood and to the people. But what could be different, and we will see later, and we will come to understand, I believe, the amount, because here the Lord is telling him 1/6 of a bushel from every 10 bushels, 1/6 of a bushel from every 10 bushels of barley and of wheat, and then to take one sheep from every 200 being pastured in Israel for grain offerings, burnt offerings, and peace offerings. So it's the amount, isn't it? It's an amount. So I would presume, and without talking or putting too much into it, talking too much into what we're being read. For instance, if it's one sheep for every 200, then probably it would be two sheep for every 400, and so forth and so forth. That's what I'm thinking as I'm talking to you right now. So there would be a certain amount. There would be a certain amount because these are offerings unto the Lord. Okay. But let me not talk too much and kind of take this way out of context, because sometimes that's what we can do. We can fall into into trouble. It may not be the case that for every 200 there's one. I mean, there could be 400 sheep in Israel, if you understand. But that doesn't mean it probably would be, well, you couldn't give 1.5 sheep, could you? You'd have to give two. You'd have to give two sheep. So if it's 200, if it's 400, if it's 600, if there was 800, then for every 200 it would be one, wouldn't it? So for 400 sheep, there would be I say 200 is one sheep, 400 is two sheep, 600 will be three sheep. I could say that, and we could always continue with that all the way down. That may not have been the case, but if you follow the principle about what is being said here, and I'm reading from the Jewish text, then I'm just multiplying that to make sense of what is being done, of what is being said here. But in the Messiah's kingdom, in Israel, when the Messiah's government is in place, the people will be faithful in giving their offerings unto the Lord. Okay, some have included tithing into this. Now, again, I'm not. I know a lot of people have tithing or have problems with tithing. The reason for that is that they would basically say that was not a New Testament. It wasn't a New Testament teaching, because they don't see tithing in the New Testament. That may be so, but I don't believe that that should be left out. If somebody tithing, I believe I could be getting myself into trouble, but I believe tithing is something. It's also an offering unto the Lord. It's about giving a tenth of what it is that you have, and the increase in which you have, and you should give unto the Lord freely. Yeah, you should give unto the Lord freely. I'm not saying that you shouldn't give, and I'm not saying that you should give, but give something to the Lord. It's a free will offering. So I do believe that in the Messiah's kingdom, at least for the Israelite, for Jacob's children, for the children of Israel, tithing and offering is still very much a part of their service, and God expects them to give their offerings and their tithes. That's what I believe as far as Israel is concerned. They will also bring some very special offerings to Christ because of the joy that will continually be flooding their hearts. And I believe that it's going to be the same for us, knowing that we're going during that messianic age, and when he has established his kingdom in Jerusalem, and when we, you and I believe we will be alive. We will be brought back. We will be with him. But I believe if, and I know I'm getting into some choppy waters here because we don't really know what the situation is going to be. But we're just going to give. We just want to do anything for God. We're going to give anything, I believe, because what he has done for us, what he did for us while we lived previously before this time, and that we are saved, and we are, whatever it is that we have, we're just going to freely give to him, especially those who are going to be born during that time, because there will be some who will not know the life that we have lived now. They won't know anything about this life. They won't know what it is that you have had to suffer, or what you have had to go through, the trials, the tribulation. They won't know anything of that. But there will be those who will be born, and they will be born during the time of Christ's government, Christ's rule on earth. And I believe that they will know the goodness of God, and they will also give of their lives and of their talents and their offerings freely. At the same time, I think we've got to understand that there will be those who will not want to serve. I think we've got to also consider that. That may be a bit controversial. I have no detail or any information on that, but I believe there's going, because at some stage after that period, that the devil is going to be loose, and he's going to wreak havoc in this world. I believe that. But anyway, let me not go down that rabbit hole, because I don't know where that will lead. All right. But this here is just it's just telling us, it's just showing us what God is going to be expecting of his people. It's an expectation that God is laying out, giving Ezekiel to tell his people what he expects of them when he is on his throne, when his government is in operation in the earth, upon the earth, what his expectations is of his people. Nothing wrong with that. We all have expectations, whether it's in your home or whether it's in your church, the church that you've been placed in, the pastor to lead, organization also which you are to lead. There are expectations, and God expects his people to give offerings, to give of their life, to give of themselves, whatever it is that they have, to give a percentage of it. Just like today, I believe God expects something. He does. He does. All right. I'm going to leave it off right here. But let me just say one other thing more in with what we have said, in the expectation that God is expecting his people. I mean, that this covers all feasts, all the feasts. Remember, there are feasts unto the Lord, and and I mentioned 4 of them, but there are others. And there is a duty. There will be a duty, because this prince, he's going to be someone like a chief administrative officer or official, and he will be in charge to make sure that these offerings and the services are overseen to make sure they are carried out properly. So the prince and the princess is referring to the operation, the administrative operations of the temple. Christ will be there, God will be there, yes, he will. But just like every king, just like every queen, president, he's in charge, he's there in residence. But there are administrative officials of various ranks and offices that ensure that the services of the government, the operations of the government, the wheels of government continue to turn and turn correctly. I certainly hope I've said all of that as I could. And I certainly hope that it caused you, again, just to sit and to wonder, and not only to do that, but to go back to the scriptures and for you to read for yourself. And even whether it be informal or formally, that you go back and search the scriptures for yourself so that you can help me, help yourself, help others to understand what is being read. Because listen, people are going to read what you have read or what we have looked and come back to us. People are going to do that. So would you prefer not to say, well, I don't know, go to somebody else? Or would you prefer, okay, let's sit down and look at it together, and you are able at least to contribute something? At least. That's the least that we can do, is to contribute what it is that the scripture may be saying to us. I prefer to try and do than to say, I don't know, contact somebody else. Go to somebody else. And we're saying that we're ministers of the word. Well, what minister are we? It's a contradiction. We live in a contradiction if we're ministers of the word, but yet we don't know the word, but yet we're supposed to know it. That's what we're saying, we know it. But yet we can't help anybody. I think that's a travesty right there. Anyway, God bless you. I'm going to let you pray on this one. We're going to go in our next session. We're going to go to the last portion of this chapter, verses 18 through to 25. We're going to be looking at this together. And then shortly after that, in the next session or so, we're going to go straight down into chapter 46. We'll then have two more chapters, 47 and 48, to contend with. And then that is it for Ezekiel. And won't some people be happy? we really taken a good time, a good while to do this, but it's not a waste of time. For me, it hasn't been, because it really opened my eyes and given me a little bit more understanding, even if it's of Ezekiel, into knowing what he saw, what he heard, how he was feeling, and even, the visions that he had. They were so real to him. I don't know if he did. Up till now, we haven't seen or haven't felt that of what I'm just about to say. But I don't know if he may have been a bit confused in the two realities, because the vision that he had was one reality, but yet he had to leave that to come into the reality of real life. Did he ever get mixed up on being in the reality of in a vision, or when he was out? Did he ever get mixed up? I don't think he did. There's no mention of him being a bit confused and asking where is he and what reality is he in. I don't think there was anything like that. But what a wonderful thing it would be. What a wonderful experience it would be if all of us, you and I, could have an experience of a vision so clear and distinct as what Ezekiel had. I believe that would be a great experience. I wouldn't mind having something like that. Being in a vision, coming out of a vision that is as clear as I am, as how I'm seeing this day, as clear as I am, and knowing that I'm alive in this day, right now, that when I'm in a vision, I don't even know if I'm in it or out of it, but I'm in the vision and I'm seeing it as clearly as I see it today. I wonder if you understand what I'm trying to communicate here. And I believe that the visions that God gave his servants, the visions, I would even want to say the dreams, and there are differences between dreams. There are differences between dreams, visions, and reality. I believe that there is. I don't want us to believe that there isn't. There must be. But again, these individuals, these men and women that God used at particular times, and we are told that he was in a vision on that day, or he had a dream, visions of night, or dreams of the night. But yet, when he was in those dreams or in those visions, they were as if he was really there. It would be great. I think I don't want to leave this reality not having a vision. I wonder if you have those expectations also. I would really love to experience a vision of God, or I would love to experience a dream that God has given. And I wonder if you would love to have that for you also. Lord, I'm telling you, it would be great. I think it would be great. Not to say, and I don't want to have it in order to be boastful of it. No, that's not why. That's not what I want to do. I know there are many people who, if God ever gave them a vision, or if God ever gave them a dream, you know, you'd hear it, and they'll probably sell it, or they'll probably sell tickets for you to come and hear them and see them, and they will get rich of it. No, that's not my intention. That's not what I want. I believe, my friend, that when God gives a particular individual a dream or a vision or whatever, it is to help them, but it is also to help those who are around. I believe that. There are some times that God needs to deal with us personally. There are some things, and yes, my father has told me many times, or a few times, that he may have had one particular dream, or a particular vision, or an experience. And there are some experiences that probably are between the two. Don't know what you would call them, but he has an experience, and has had experiences that have shown him as an individual, and also the state and the condition of the church that he may have been over, whether as a pastor, presbyter, over a particular region or area. And I believe, my friend, we need more men like that to be able to share their testimony of whether it's a vision or a dream or in between. But they were so real to him. I'm talking about my father. They were so real to him that in one particular experience that he told me about, that when God touched him, he actually felt the pain as he fell out of that experience. It hurt him. It hurt him. He was in pain. Now, only if he should talk to you about it would you understand what he was saying, of how he felt, and what it is that he was feeling. But hey, I think that it is important that we understand that there are visions, there are dreams, and there are in between. So may God bless you. I really enjoy these sessions. I really do. And my heart's desire, My heart's desire that as we walk with these men of God, and in this particular instance, as we walk, and as we talk, as we sit, as we commune with Ezekiel, he's not with us. No, he's not with us. I'm not going to tell you he's sitting down right in front of me. No, I can't tell you that, but he's not. Because a lot of you will think that I'm going loony and that I need to see a doctor or a psychiatrist or so. He's not with me. No, he's not in front of me. And I know I've asked a few times that we allow our imaginations to go with us and to take us into particular areas and such. And I know some are able to do that. That's not strength. But don't let your interdimensional things really take over your life. No, we are still in reality. This is still the year 2025. All right. So I'm not in 26, and I'm certainly not in 27. I haven't gone back to 24 or to 23, and I'm very much into 2025. Okay. So we need to stay right where we are. But God certainly can take us beyond. He can. And there has to be, and I'm going on a little bit more. I really want to close this down. But but some of us, we certainly need to have an experience so that we can help the generation that is within us. That is a desire. That there's a need. There is a need for us to have an experience with God so that the generation that is with us and before us, if the Lord tarries, that they can sense, they can see, and they will know that God is with us. I really want to have an experience with God. I really desire. Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew there, he said in the Beatitudes there, blessed are they who hunger and thirst. Hunger and thirst. They shall be filled. And if we are thirsty, we will be. Our thirst will be quenched. It will be. We will be. But we need to be hungry and we need to be thirsty for God. And I believe Ezekiel, and I'm sticking with Ezekiel now because we are dealing with Ezekiel in the book of Ezekiel. I believe that Ezekiel, in his day, he's not saying it, he has not said it. I'm not going to tell you he has communicated that to me, for he hasn't. We haven't read it. But I believe he was thirsty for his God. He was hungry for Adonai. He was thirsty for Adonai. And because he was thirsty for him, for his God, God answered that hunger. God answered that thirst. God answered that prayer. And Ezekiel was not disappointed. So may God bless you. May God bless you. Be blessed today and have a great day that is before you. God bless.